What happened to my legal notice I had?
Right, we're on the lights.
What happened to it? Good evening, everyone. It is 6:06 PM and we will be starting as soon as Corporation Council arrives.
Just testing my audio. Can you guys hear me?
And
Thank you.
okay, Elaine. The gremlins did it again. I printed out a legal notice for you.
So this is a new, this is.
Thinking.
Did
Did
it
it
on
get-
my email?
No, I didn't send it. I had it printed out. I said, okay, here's my the legal notice for Elaine. Let's see if it got
Somewhere.
stuck with something else.
Well, we make the plans to make sure we do that before it. And then take me off. Want to make sure I don't have the volume down all the way. But,
Thomas wants to make sure I don't give him a dirty look.
right.
Okay. Can you get on the Connecticut Post website? If you give me, go
I'm not a
CT,
subscriber.
no, you don't have to be. ctpost.com, I could pull it up.
What, for today?
No, it was published last week before, but I printed it out. You must
All right, I'm on there now. What do I
Okay.
go for?
go under.
So as long as I keep my audio off. Or you could take me, put me back to whatever.
Go over here. Classifieds. Then we go down to legal notices. Double screen, they go together. All right, so keywords.
Just turn your camera on.
Justin.
Turn the camera on.
This is the housing.
There you go.
This is the drive.
Hearing.
And now it's a little clearer because it's.
Okay.
You can just sit here, I'll sit down.
Now it's
I know,
from
it's
start to
fun.
beginning, so search through. This should be it. No,
I didn't know you were coming.
oh, that's 21st.
Well, you could have sat there. There's nobody sitting there.
What's the next one? Should
Well,
be
you said it
more.
was before.
You guys have-
Yeah. You wanna play that?
See this?
Well,
It makes it.
Here's the
look
yellow
That
back
was 2
one.
weeks ago.
like it was-
Alexander, when did that for public legal notice come out? Tonight? Would have been 2 weeks ago. Elaine has some up on the screen, but not the specific one.
But I mean, we can sign it. So, you know,
Like you might have to put a double yellow line in there.
so, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. Again, that's just the render, you remember? You know, with anything like that. we
Wait a
can-
minute.
Found it.
You got it? It was in my bag. I didn't grab it. My agenda was in there. No wonder. No, I said we weren't gonna start until.
You're right. I don't want to just. One is a text change for interior.
Sure.
It's Katie Mendy, she wants to approach, she wants getting married, she wants to. On this, you know, it's the family law. And the other one is, it just came in to me yesterday, yesterday. Is to change. Zone from overlay to R1.
You guys want
Next to-
Picture mic, because we don't have. Oh, yeah, we do have.
You should have
Never mind.
Just send me.
That was my.
DOTs.
I'm batting a thousand.
Yes, she's.
No. Dominic.
Oh, well, we'll share it.
Oh,
Yeah. We will be having a public hearing tonight. If there's anyone that had planned to speak on application 2313, sign up sheet is here on the table.
The other ones are closed. I hope they realize that.
His name. We're live, okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger. I'm Chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025, and the special meeting of the commission being conducted in Shelton City Hall. Yeah, and via Zoom is hereby called to order. Did you check Commissioner Apple's in? The meeting is also being held live on YouTube. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll start off the roll call of the commission. Please verbally indicate that you are present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly.
Present.
Commissioner Cristiano.
Present.
Commissioner Parkins. Commissioner Motto. Here. Alternate Commissioner Apple.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner McGee.
Present.
Myself, Commissioner Harger, Ms. Castro, our Assistant Administrator.
Present.
Attorney Francis Teodoso, our Corporation Counsel.
I am present.
Mr. Dominic DeGangi, our Professional Engineer.
Present.
Ms. Sarah Vernassos, our Recording Secretary.
Present.
And Ms. Stephanie Charbonneau, our Stenographer.
Present.
And for the record, Commissioner Ticky is not available for this evening's meeting. Alternate Commissioner McGee, you are being seated for Commissioner Ticky. Please acknowledge that you understand.
So acknowledged.
Thank you very much. Couple of points before continuing with this evening's agenda. Ms. Castro will act as the Zoom meeting host. While commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting, the chair asks that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking to make sure we are not all speaking over each other and to make sure our recording secretary is clear as to who is speaking, and that goes for our stenographer as well. The first item on this evening's agenda is the opening of a public hearing, and I'd like to share the protocol we will be following. Ms. Castro will indicate if any written comments were received from members of the public no later than 24 hours before the start of this evening's meeting. If written comments were received, they will be read into the record. The applicant and or associates will make their presentation. The commission can ask questions during the presentation or at its conclusion. The applicant and or associates can answer commission questions at the time they're presented or at the conclusion of the presentation. At the point in each public hearing when the chair asks for public comments, we'll begin with elected officials of the city present here in the auditorium, followed by those participating via Zoom or through a phone link. After elected officials conclude their comments, members of the public will be recognized, starting with those present in the auditorium, followed by those participating remotely via Zoom or through the phone link. Those in the auditorium will need to list their name on a speaker sheet that's here at the front table. Those participating via Zoom or through a phone link will need to use either Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone to be recognized. After you are recognized, please state and spell your name and state your address. To assist the recording secretary and stenographer when doing the minutes and transcript of the public hearing, each speaker has 5 minutes to present comments, which should address specific criteria of the zoning regs, the merits of the application, and be new information, not a repeat of comments presented by a previous speaker. Comments and questions should be directed to the commission, not to the applicant and or associates. Members of the public are expected to practice appropriate etiquette by being quiet, observant, and respectful. Disruptive attendees may be removed from verbally participating. The applicant's attorney and or associates will be given the opportunity to address any comments or questions from the public after the last person from the public has been given the opportunity to speak. If the commission feels further information is needed from the applicant, the chair will ask for a motion to continue the public hearing. Public hearing remains open. The commission is not allowed to make any public comment, discuss any part of the applicant and or his associate's presentation, or receive any additional information from anyone. If the commission feels the applicant and or his associates have answered all questions and have addressed all concerns from the commission and or the public hearing will close. The commission reserves the right to discuss the application at the close of the public hearing or to just schedule a discussion at an upcoming commission meeting. At either time, the commission will be asked by the chair on how it wants to proceed. So this is the opening of the public hearing for application 2513 Fountains.
23.
I'm sorry, 2313. It's right in front of me. 2313 Fountain Square, Dominic Thomas for Fountain Square LLC. Commissioner Amato, would you please read the public hearing notice?
Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Shelton, Connecticut hereby gives notice of a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, May 28th, 2025 at 6 p.m. to be held in the auditorium of Shelton City Hall and via Zoom to consider the following. Application 23-13, BDD 91, Fountain Square, Dominic Thomas for Fountain Square LLC at 745, 795 Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 21, Lot 18. For a major modification of a PDD amendment to the Statement of Uses and Standards, initial concept development plans, and final site development plan to allow 100 residential apartments, with 20 being listed as affordable, 10 units at 60% AMI and 10 units at 80% AMI. Properties generally found as follows: northerly by 3 Enterprise Drive, easterly by Bridgeport Avenue, southerly by 811-819 Bridgeport Avenue, and westerly by Parrot Drive.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Amato. Okay, this application was accepted for review on August 9th, 2023. Public hearings were held on August 30th, September 20th, and October 18th, 2023. On November 8th, 2023, the commission came to a consensus to have an unfavorable resolution prepared denying the proposed residential units, which was approved unanimously by the commission on January 31st of 2024. The applicant appealed the denial, and this public hearing is being held for the applicant to present terms of a settlement. Posted to the city's website are the initial and amended statement of uses and standards, initial concept development plans, final site development plans, floor plans and elevations, renderings, a traffic study, a stormwater drainage report, an email from the commission's civil engineer to the applicant with a series of engineering questions and the applicant's response, signed, posting photos, and a certificate of mailing. Ms. Castro, any other reports, materials, or documents we need to acknowledge for the record that were not posted?
No.
Thank you. And I can see that the applicant is present, so would you identify yourself for the record?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Attorney Dominic Thomas, Conan Thomas, 315 Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, representing the applicant. As stated by the chairman in the presentation, the notices in accordance with your regulation and the certificate of mailing were uploaded to the drive, along with other documents related to the settlement that this public hearing is on. This public hearing is for the purpose of considering in accordance with the settlement proposal that was discussed and presented to my client, an amendment to the statement of uses and standards. I will note for the record that it is listed as the Fourth Amendment, and that after consultation with your corporation counsel, we determined that the prior, and I want to make this clear for the record, the prior Fourth Amendment, where we added the language on the veterinary use, the tenant never went forward, and no effective date was ever set. So my clients have withdrawn that, in other words, there's that, yeah, it's null and void. We're not going to push the issue of having it set or done. If a tenant comes back, we'll come back before the board, but right now that is an issue. So therefore, I labeled this one the Fourth Amendment, and I didn't want anybody to be confused concerning that, because you did actually vote on to the consensus vote or whatever the circumstances were that night. I was
Did you
not.
file anything on the record?
Huh?
Did you file anything on the record to state that that was withdrawn?
No, there was never, if you read it, the vote, I was not present. The vote that was taken seemed to be for the use as opposed to the amendment to the statement of uses and standards. Okay, and I discussed that with your corporation counsel. If you want something on the records, I can, but because it was, when you watch the video, because it seemed to be on the use and not on the amendment to the statement of uses and standards, and then the tenant went away, I didn't have an issue with that. If something is required to be filed on the land records, not on the land records, I'm sorry, filed with the Planning and Zoning Commission, I will do so.
I would think we
Yeah.
should, because the Zoom meetings are basically minutes.
Attorney,
No,
No, it was a nullity to start with. If you do something like that, this is gonna be the fifth one.
Mhm.
So that never went forward. You never attached an effective date to it. There was no, it was just a denial. It's a nullity in our paperwork to go forward with the Fourth Amendment.
well, it wasn't a denial.
Protocol allows for this to be the Fourth Amendment.
Okay. We get confusion further down the road. but-
All right, and I could do a letter to the.
Yeah, you can
corporation.
do
I
a
could
letter, but I don't want to get into calling that the
Right.
Fourth Amendment. and
Right,
this
no,
the
no,
Fifth
I
Amendment.
understand that, I understand.
I could do a letter, which will clarify the issue. Anyway, getting back to it, the Fourth Amendment has been proposed, and then for the use that's substituted is for the 100 residential rental units, of which 20% are to be affordable under 8-30G. To make it clear, because I know you've had some confusion, and that requires the 40-year commitment and the recurring land records. Of those 20, 10 would be at 80% AMI, area median income, and 10 would be at 60% area median income. So that is in your statement of uses and standards. And I do want to, because of the issues, to point out that when I usually do these regulations and I reference Connecticut General Statutes 8-30G, when I reference that automatically triggers the fact that it's got to be the 40 years, unless, of course, the statute were to be amended in the future, which is unlikely, believe me. And so that is done. We have also, that of course requires the public hearing. Secondly, we have filed an amended initial development concept plan, and I can bring that up if share. And this is the. But it worked. This is the initial development concept plan, which is basically the site plan that we're filing.
Is that
And-
SP1, Attorney
That's
Thomas?
SP1.
Okay.
Yeah, I uploaded it as a separate document as the amendment to the initial development concept plan, and it's also part of the revised site plans, which will be discussed by Manny. So, and it just shows the apartments in a similar configuration that you've seen in prior applications, except that it is, unit count in this is only 100. In this original application, there was that we are settling the legal action. I think the proposal was for 145 units. So this is now 100 units. And in addition, obviously, the previously approved Trader Joe's building. In addition, uploaded and for your viewing is the rendering, and keep in mind, this is a rendering, and it gives you the idea, because this was discussed, of what the entrance coming through Trader Joe's is like as you enter the apartments, and what the apartments look like in relationship to two things. I think it's important to note. One is in relationship to the natural foliage that's around it, which is probably a little more elaborate than exists there. But second of all, in relationship to the Renaissance that you see up above, and then also gives you a somewhat of a view, as you can see, with the relationship to the Goddard School. So I think this will be a beneficial addition, keeping in mind that as was done prior, there is an easement of access, pedestrian easement of access, as you will see in the site plans, from the rear of the apartments, the northern, I think, north westerly corner of the property into 3 Enterprise, which then takes it. You can then access the sidewalk in 3 Enterprise, access the elevator in 3 Enterprise, or the stairs if you want exercise, and go up through the parking garage, and you will then be at the corporate towers and all of that, and you will have access to all of the corporate towers as a pedestrian. In addition to that, and just to point out, we have incorporated some water features, additional water features along the top, some additional landscaping along the top. And this proposal, as you will see from the site plan, which Manny Silva will review, adds a sidewalk. I understand the sidewalk that we have proposed in here, which is in here, is being, the sidewalk proposal is being reviewed by the mayor and his staff. The mayor wanted to determine whether the sidewalk met the ordinance. I do want to make clear that under your ordinance, my clients are aware that because the sidewalk is in the right of way but borders the property of Fountain Square, it is the owner of Fountain Square that will be responsible for it.
You're referring to the sidewalk along Parrot Drive.
I'm sorry, the sidewalk along Parrot Drive, actually, all the sidewalks, the sidewalks that exist along Bridgeport Avenue and Parrot Drive, the new sidewalk, and as you remember, your original approval contained a
Future.
a sidewalk, a construction along the state right of way,
Mhm.
that a sidewalk could continue from the Bridgeport Avenue entrance down to the Woodland Plaza if it was ever determined that there would be the full sidewalk all the way down, to connect across.
Yeah,
So-
Attorney Thomas, I just want to make clear that because you were referring to internal sidewalks, that's not what
Okay,
you were talking
yeah,
about. This is
well,
all the,
Of the
Premier.
public sidewalks, per your ordinance,
Mhm.
are required to be maintained by the adjacent property owner.
Mhm.
That's according to the ordinance. And if they have to be repaired, it is a shared expense between the property owner and the city of Shelton. There's a procedure for that. So I just wanted to point that out. So I think this is a favorable and reasonable resolution of this matter. And if there are no questions for me, I would turn it over to Manny Silva to go over the site plans because that this is also part of the application. The application is in three parts: to amend the statement of uses and standards, to amend the initial concept development plans, and to amend the final site development plans, which is not a public hearing requirement, but has been combined with the amendment to the initial concept development plans. I also want to make it clear that because this is a settlement, it is required to be approved by the court and the filing of an 8th date and motion. And I would expect, hope, request that the commission has already voted on the structure of the settlement would be able to reach a consensus tonight, include the public hearing, and have a resolution drafted. That this requires an effective date because for both the implementation of the amendment to the statement of uses and standards and for the approval of the initial concept plan. And that at your next meeting, hopefully we can have a resolution drafted, because that resolution would then have to be attached to the 8-8N motion to go before the court and approve it. So with that, if there's no questions for me, I would turn it over to Manny Silva to review the plans and to review his responses or whatever, however you want to do it, to Dominic Ganji, who made some comments and there was responses.
Mhm. All right, go ahead and start with Mr. Silva.
Okay.
Good evening.
Manny, do you want to share or do you want me to share?
No, I'll share the screen.
Okay. All right.
Good evening, commissioners. This is Manny Silva from Rose T-Zone Company representing the applicant. 35 Brentwood Avenue, Fairfield, Connecticut is the location of our office. So this is kind of a familiar site to the commission. This is the Fountain Square. Just kind of orient everyone. Here's Parrot Drive going up to a cul-de-sac and then Bridgeport Avenue along the bottom here. The subject site is this, hold on, let me just put something here, is this property here, or this portion of the property here, where the apartments are going to be, are being proposed. So as Dominic stated, Attorney Thomas, sorry, the sidewalk, we are proposing a sidewalk along Parrot Drive here, and that will be provided by the applicant. And then we have basically our, and I'll go to the next slide here where it kind of zooms in. So basically what we have is the Trader Joe's here, that which was approved prior. And then we have kind of a delineation as you come up to on the main driveway, you're going to pull in front of basically the Trader Joe's area, but then you have this delineation of a separation between the apartments area and the Trader Joe's. They'll have two stone pillars on either side, gray pavers in this area, and this throat here is about 50 feet wide, and then there'll be some delineated walking paths or sidewalks with pavers in the pavement. These will be red coming across, kind of brick. Red as in brick. There is also another delineator here, which is a brick-faced retaining wall, because there is also a grade difference between this area at Trader Joe's and the residential component. The residential parcel here or area is a little bit higher. It's at 721 versus the I think 64 of the Trader Joe's. So this will sit a little up higher. So you come up, you'll pass this kind of entrance for the apartment area, and then come into a parking field here where you have some accessible spaces. And then you'll come around. There's an entrance to an underground parking garage here for 61 spaces, and that exits here on the other side. You'll also have a way to get around the building on the outside. Here you have the some perimeter parking around the outside of the building. You will have a pool area here in the inside the L of the building, and then a one-story amenity space for get-togethers and things of that nature. It also has a couple of bathrooms, I believe. The grading of the property, like I said, is I think everyone's familiar. Right now, the site has a kind of a plateau up here. Due to Trader Joe's design, we had to cut down that plateau a little bit. So Trader Joe sits a little bit lower now at 264. And then you'll have a slight rise up to the apartments. And then that will be basically level from the two garage entrances and then to the entrance here, the main entrance here, which is in the, I want to say the inside angle of the L. You'll have stairways basically to exit here in the back, one here in the front out to either the back parking area or the amenity space here in the front with the pool area, which is also fenced in. Our drainage is essentially the same as the previous applications. This is a very similar footprint to the original hotel approval or and some of the applications that we had in front of you for the apartments. Again, this is 100 units and over parking, so it's going to have a podium and then 3 stories above. The drainage is going to be exactly the same as what the characteristics of our previous applications were. And if you remember, when this was UI, this was a large parking lot up on an upper area. So the impervious area has actually been reduced in this area from the existing condition back when it was UI. We have the drainage will be collected through various catch basins, which will have hooded outlets in it. Which is our first treatment train element in this project. That then gets conveyed down to some existing infrastructure down here in Fountain Square through a 30-inch pipe that then comes out to a retention pond that has been modified to have some new forebays and some so that the water to increase the water quality of the water coming out of our site. So you have a treatment train. Basically, you have floatables being caught in oils and things of that nature in the snouted catch basins themselves. It gets conveyed down to a forebay down here where this pond is split in half. You can't really see that here, but it's already been constructed. And that water is allowed to scrub in the wetland plantings in here, and then it overflows to another chamber here where then the water is controlled by an outlet control structure here that goes into the little creek that goes around the diner.
Mr. Silva, is there any
Yes.
plan on taking care of that site? It's become quite unsightly.
Retaining.
That detention pond at the bottom, down by Plaza Diner. Isn't that what you were just referring to as to where?
Yeah, there was a retention pond down here. We cleared everything out and we modified this pond. But I guess this spring there's been some overgrowth from some invasive species and stuff kind of growing in this area. So
I don't think it's just within the last couple of months.
okay, so yeah, I mean the applicant can definitely it should be part of their maintenance of stormwater controls, which is this is one of them, to keep that area clear of any kind of encroachment of vegetation, especially that low growing woody stuff that can actually hamper how this pond functions. So go ahead.
Andy, just a second. By my recollection, just to give you a little history on it, the detention pond was part of some of the environmental remediation. The upper area where you're talking about now, that is an area where they stored the transformers.
Mhm.
So that had some PCB issues up there. And again, I'm not 100% sure of this because I wasn't involved, but I believe there was some runoff into the area where they had a detention pond down there. And so I do know, I do believe, and I just want to be careful, if we are gonna, if my clients are gonna be doing it, I believe at some point UI had to go to wetlands to do, to do the work, because this is adjacent to a brook that is on the woodland, not woodland. Why am I drawing a blank?
Woodside.
Woodside
Woodside Plaza.
Plaza, Woodside Plaza. So they had to go to wetland. So if something is gonna have to be done in there, there's gonna be a discussion, it may involve an application.
But
to
it was done
wetlands.
before. It was cleared out before, so.
It shouldn't be a problem. I just wanted to
Right,
mention to you that
okay.
it did involve, because of that brook, it involved, and the upland review area, it involved going to wetlands.
Mhm.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to point it out on that issue.
Mhm. Mr. Silva, on that lower stormwater detention area that's noted on sheet SP1, isn't there those contraptions that you always talk about that contain things and,
Yes, so there is soil hydrodynamic separators prior to discharging into the pond. So that is basically a water quality unit that swirls the water around and slows it down so that the floating material within that suspended solids within the water is dropped out into the bottom of the unit itself, and then it has a ring around it that will capture any floating material, any floating oils or any floating debris, so that the downstream water is basically much cleaner than if it was. It basically collects 80% of all the contaminants in the water down to, I think, 2 microns. So it meets the DEP's requirement for a BPM, or a best management practice, basically a secondary treatment unit. It's part of our treatment train, along with the snouts and the catch basins and the forebays that are going on in the pond itself. So that we basically have a clean water being discharged into the pond and then downstream into the brook.
okay, and who has the maintenance logs?
So the maintenance log is with the property owner, and which is currently the property manager. But in the future, if there is anyone else that is a property manager besides the owner, it would be with them, and they have to keep record of all the maintenance of the catch basins on site, the water quality units. We have some galleries down here at this lower area that are underground that also store water and treat water. And all those things have to be logged on site and available to the city for inspection.
Okay, so from staff,
Mr. Silva.
we can get that. Thank
Yep.
you.
Silva, you're just Commissioner Christian. To make it clear, this application does not address the construction or maintenance of the retention ponds, correct? They're already pre-existing.
Right.
Mhm.
That was already created for the overall project. This portion of the project just fits in within the envelope of that original design. In fact, I have our drainage report here, and you can see that these numbers still stand. Hopefully you can see the report, the table 2 here, that we have a reduction in runoff from the existing condition, which was back then UI. And that still holds true with this modification, that the 5-year storm is being reduced by 50%. So 50% of the water at the 5-year storm no longer leaves the site. 10-year storm was a reduction of 44%. The 25-year storm was a reduction of 29%. The 50-year storm is a reduction of 26%, and the 100-year storm is reduced by nearly 25%. So that means that when there's a 7.5-inch rainstorm in 24 hours, which is like basically a hurricane, 25% of the water that used to come off when it was UI is no longer being discharged down the brook and flood and cause any flooding downstream from us. So it's basically we're mitigating any kind of impervious areas that came about in the past, which is the UI. And we're actually reducing the amount of water that comes off the site. We're making sure that the water is much cleaner than it was. And we conform with all the DEP standards and the city standards for water quality and the reduction in overall water volume and peak flow.
Well, that's good. And be that as it may, then it should be a problem to document, or see the documentation that that's been maintained so that future impacts based on the apartment house would not cause any problems. It's just gonna be an additional discharge in the area. So if
Right, it's just an
maintained, it
additional
won't-
user to the overall project, yeah. So it's gonna be maintained and documented the same way.
Mhm. Okay, what else do you have for us?
And then the next thing is, you heard me say this many times, that during construction, we have to protect the surrounding areas, so that we have, so that any debris or mud during construction isn't conveyed into the, in this case, operating Panera and all these, the preschool, and even off the property. So we have a silt fence line basically right along the base of the cut area, or in this case the fill area where the where our project is happening. It'll encompass around here near the Cinto property to the south. I mean, I'm sorry, to the north, which is to the right. Since we will have once this is approved, we'll have these structures in place to start collecting some water up there. Right now, it's just kind of a gravel and dirt piles up here. We'll have silt sacks in all the catch basins, and that's basically a black geofabric that's inside the catch basin. And once water goes in there, all the mud and debris gets caught in that sack. It doesn't get conveyed down into our drainage system or into the pond or into our water treatment units. It gets caught right there locally in that sack. And then once we have the area stabilized, we can pull those out, and the catch basin is clean, and the system is ready to go once everything's landscaped and paved, as if it was new. We have we have a ornamental landscaping plan. Basically, we have some similar to what we have on the rest of the site. We'll have some shade trees along the islands and the perimeter. Again, it's we'll have some American dogwoods, London plane trees, northern cedars for areas that need to be shaded, but I think we don't actually in this area we don't have any northern cedars. We have some red maples throughout the property, some pin oaks, white pines, and then for our low growth we have our spreading yews and some junipers for the low growth, kind of to have some base landscaping to this amenity space and the building itself, so that when you're pulling in, you have these flanking trees and then a base landscape at the bottom of the building.
Silva, is that landscaping plan on SP4?
4B, yes.
And had that information been shared with Commissioner Amato?
I believe so.
Doing better, but
Yeah,
yeah, not quite. The white pines you mentioned, I think are European. And the best
well,
one
we're not using any Austrian pines. I know it's on the plant list, but there's 0 of them, so we're not using them. We are going to,
Austrian pine, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the 6th thing down in the list.
yeah, there's none.
I think we can
0.
resolve by putting a note on the map that says this is the planting subject to Commissioner Mato's approval.
Oh,
That's right.
I'm not gonna live forever. I know.
Well,
Don't we have a guideline?
We do, we have regulations.
We have a native
we have
plant.
regulations, but not specific listings of plantings and.
I know,
I
but
thought
I'm not
we
the architect, you
Took a
know,
lot of
so I
time
think
on that.
anybody who is
I-
can come up with a plan.
Our client has no issue consulting with staff, and commissioners as to what is best for up there.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Yeah. And then for ground cover, we use the blue fescues and the daylilies, along with the
No.
mulching beds.
We're not.
No.
No? Okay. All right. So again,
All right.
we've always modified. We've always had good, back and forth with staff and with the commissioner, and we'll just comply with the list the substitutions that's recommended. So
I'll ask, and it's not actually an ask. It's a requirement, so.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. Understood. So the details are here. This is our land, or basically our soil erosion control details. Yeah, here's that silt sack that I was talking about in the actual catch basins. Here's our silt fence detail for around the property perimeter. We have our dumpster pad detail, standard detail for granite curbing because the site is granite curbing. Our typical section for utilities. Here's that snout detail, which kind of shows you that the first implement in our treatment train is to stop all the debris inside the catch basin itself, solids at the bottom, floatables at the top, and the water kind of snakes up inside of it. This works really well. We have wood guardrails on site. What else?
Life
Sewer. Go ahead.
expectancy of those, Mr. Silva?
I'm sorry.
What's the life expectancy of these wooden guide rails?
I would say somewhere between 10 and 15 years, they might have to be looked at. If they were metal, they would last longer, but they don't look as nice. I mean, we've used them. We have them at the Big Y. We have them. We have them over. I think we used them over at Chili's. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I want to get it on the record so that if there's any issues later on.
yeah, no, I mean they are they're resistant to being rotted. That's why they're cedar and and they're but it's just like anything else, it's a natural product and it's not going to last forever. But
Are cedar and southern yellow pine the same?
yes.
'Cause you're-
Yep.
it
Yeah. Just like arborvitaes and northern fir are the same,
Oh,
I think.
perfect.
They're,
Thank you.
what is it? It's actually northern white cedar is an arborvitae, is the same thing. Um, so
Mr. Silva, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Commissioner Kelly had a question?
Yeah, Mr. Silva, you mentioned granite curbing.
correct.
The developer asked to have compressed concrete curbing on some of the areas. Is he gonna ask for concrete curbing here to keep it kind of uniformed, or how are we doing it?
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Gunya,
That's much for Dominic, I think, but
Dave, Dave, are you on?
I think Dave's in Portugal right now, but I think I saw him on here. Dave
He's on.
Gunya.
He's on. I don't know if you can hear. The pressed concrete curbing was a request. Dave?
Might be
No, it was
delayed, but he said he's
it
on.
was a request by him.
Oh, yeah, there was a request at that point. It had to do with the concrete curbing. Well, first of all, then there was a granite curbing shortage and completing the area around
Mhm.
Chick-fil-A.
The back,
I-
yeah.
You know, we would have some yes, some no. I mean,
He's on.
you know, should we
So
keep
why
it?
don't we just let him talk?
Well, yeah, did he respond?
Yeah, he says pictures on the screen. You can't,
Dave?
there he is.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, we have gone on record in the past that and agreed to install the granite curbing in the Trader Joe's and the apartment parking
Okay.
areas and throughout.
And the granite curbing is through, isn't it through most of the parking area in the retail one?
That is correct.
Right, so it goes through retail one and then it's other areas down around Chick-fil-A and I think around retail two. But they had agreed back then, when they did the approval, that the rest, the development on the top would be granite curbing.
Okay,
And
fine.
it will be.
All right, back to you, Mr. Silva.
Okay. Again, that's our standard details. I think they're all over the site, so you can look at them if you want to see what they look like in real life. And then we have our lighting plan. Basically, it's going to be in line with what we have there right now, which is a Blade LED. And it's night sky compliant. There's no spillage off property. In fact, there's no glare up above the property either. That's the night sky certification. And then we have basically our sidewalk details that have to have ADA compliance throughout the property. It's, for instance, like the sidewalk that we are proposing now that basically connects the upper area right down through here and then down into the main Fountain Square.
Would you specifically, Mr. Silva, discuss how you're treating the handicap access to the,
So the
extent?
handicap access for the apartments is 3 handicap spaces here in the front area. And then there's one in the garage here, and there's another one here. These are both van spaces underneath the cover of the garage, per the requirements, state requirements. And again, we have 3 outside. The 3 outside is kind of like if you had visitors that were disabled, they would come out here more likely. And then this is more in line with the an actual resident that had a handicap or was disabled. They would use the ones that are inside the garage.
did you say there were 2 inside the garage?
Correct,
Mhm.
right here.
The symbols are,
I'll show
small.
them, right? Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You got
I'll
it on the-
circle them. There's one here. Oh, I didn't mean it to be green, but
that's okay.
and there's one
Charging
here.
stations?
Charging stations are required per the state code. We're going to have the ability to have charging stations, I believe is 10% of the parking spaces. I envision them to be either here or here near the amenity building. But depending on how if the residents themselves are wanting them in the garage, we could put them in the garage area. But normally we would we would have the availability for charging stations on the front here near the outside, just like we did a clock tower.
Under the statute, 10%
Mhm.
I'll call it hardwired. You know, in other words,
Right,
they have to
correct.
be, you have to have the
Correct.
wiring to head it up. I think one of the issues that a lot of the developers are dealing with now is waiting to see the advancements for the fast chargers, which there's things coming into the issue with the fast chargers, which, and now I'm getting a little beyond me, which do impact the electric load that you're providing, but you have to have 10% hardwired and ready to be hooked up or even.
They're also very
Yeah.
expensive if they're not used.
Exactly.
So, Attorney Thomas, has there been some discussion among the applicant and whoever as to how the parking spaces underneath are going to be allocated versus the ones on the outside? And
Well,
would
each-
that EV, if it goes inside, is that going to be, just an EV one, like a handicap one? If you don't need it, you're not to be sitting there, have your vehicle parked there?
That's the reason to make the UVs outside.
Yeah,
I think it would be very
that's
wise.
that's maybe a marketing thing or whatever. Each person will be designated one space for their apartment,
Mhm.
and they will have, there's no charges like there was.
Yeah,
And I'm sure interior parking spaces may very well create, a little higher rent, for that than you would for the outside spaces. Then you would have, this is the normal procedure for renting spaces. In the experience that I've had, the EV spaces are not numbered spaces. In other words, they're not
Right.
dedicated, they're not reserved spaces. They are spaces to allow the people to use them with the understanding that once they're charged, they would
Move on.
do. And a lot of that depends on the type of chargers that they're doing. Obviously, if you have I can't think, level something charger,
Level one.
then that's a multiple hours. That's like a 6-7
Yeah.
hours.
It's a level
What
one.
would you mentioned premium, which is a little concerning, again, because if people don't want to pay a premium, they're going to be looking elsewhere to park.
No, they're gonna be able to park outside. There's plenty of parking. Each person will get to one space. Okay?
But if their one space is inside, it's going to be a premium charge.
More than
Under
likely,
the-
that's the way, I'm not, Dave's on the phone. I'm not the
Well, I'm
marketing person. I'm just
asking
giving you
a
from,
question.
okay, Dave, if you can comment on that, there are, if I can read this correctly, although I'm not screen sharing it, 61 garage spaces. There are 100 apartments. In the normal circumstance, other experience of other apartments that I've been involved in. And even beyond the zoning, you know, when they've been built, the interiors to be given a dedicated interior space. Okay, it's usually a slightly more, you know, on the rent. Dave, can you comment on that, or are you still on? Or?
Yeah, I'm still on. That is correct. We will have a property manager here who will manage the parking spaces, and, you know, every tenant will be allocated, every one-bedroom tenant would be allocated one space. Usually two-bedroom units would get two spaces. Some are going to be assigned inside, some are going to be assigned in the parking spaces outside. And typically there is a slight premium to those apartments that have interior assigned spaces.
Fine slight is. We talking $10, $15 a month, or are we talking $100, $150 a month?
I think the average is about $75 a month.
Enough to make me want to park outside.
Right, but here, it isn't like you're parking outside the project, you're parking inside the project.
It's not sheltered
But outside,
parking.
but outside. You're not,
You're
Put
paying
it
for,
this way.
you're paying for parking is the bottom line.
It's industry standard.
yeah, it's pretty standard. The point is, you know, at 1.8 spaces, you know, which is what the math computes, 1.78, something like that, spaces with the math computes out, and the breakdown of the numbers is an abundance of parking. And
I pay to park close to the door. Move on.
We'll move on if we have all our questions answered.
yeah,
But the handicap, the sidewalk from the entrance is through a crosswalk, leads to the sidewalk in front of the first row of parking spaces, which is behind the fountain wall.
Right.
And then it continues through up to the front of the Trader Joe's parking lot. And then is that a ramp to go down?
no, there's a sidewalk that goes all the way down. There is not a ramp because of the way.
But I mean, is it pitched?
Yeah, there's going to be it's going to follow the pitch of the road, which isn't.
Driveway. Yep. Okay.
Right.
All right. And then,
But there was also a stairway to.
yes, I see that over there.
Yeah.
But they can continue through a crosswalk to go into the front of the new Korean Steakhouse or cross over to Cavia. Then they can find their way around other parts of
Other
the,
parts, yeah, the sidewalks interconnecting the entire interior.
okay. And then to get over to the preschool, if for any reason, and what is down on the site as a restaurant in the bottom right corner, those sidewalks as well, or those?
Yes. Yeah, there's a
Urban.
sidewalk that runs all the way down like this.
Okay. All right, very good.
Yep.
Okay, I think, there's a couple things I do want to, mention that I forgot. One of them was just covered, and that was the interior sidewalks. Number two, I forgot to mention that we are also replacing the fence along Parrot Drive. I misspoke, you know, I was gonna mention that when I mentioned the sidewalk up Parrot Drive. Also, the fence in this plan is being replaced. And I do want to mention, because before I forget it, is there is a new lot line revision map, Mylar, that was presented to your staff. The reason it had to be redone from what you approved, when you approved,
Panera?
no, when you approved Trader Joe's,
Mm-hmm.
is because nothing changed with the lot line revisions. But what was discovered is when the lot line revision map was done, the original Aquarian easement was put on. And then it was discovered that the Aquarian easement had to be relocated because of the Trader Joe's building. So we had to go back to Aquarian, and they have approved what I have the new Aquarian easement map. They've approved that,
Mhm.
and I'm waiting for their documentation on the easement. And then the new easement was incorporated into the new Mylar.
And that easement includes some underground piping that's already
Yeah.
there that has to be moved?
No,
No.
no.
or just
Uh,
access to,
Right, this is where the easement, there was a little bit below, there was a little bit, I believe, and Dave's on the phone. I believe there was one piping that wasn't, that was installed on the lower level as going up. Nothing was installed on the upper level, but the easement on the upper level, obviously, the way it was drafted, a portion of it was underneath.
Yeah, so what Dominic is, Mr. Attorney Thomas is saying is that there used to be an easement that cut through this building. Because that's where the water line was going to this hotel originally. But now it kind of goes this way. Now it's going to be like this. Oops, which is what what we've worked out with Aquarian. It's going to come like this here, and then it's going to go here
Right around.
around Trader Joe's instead of through it. So that's the revision that was required.
okay,
It's a good idea.
But anyway, as you're doing this process of drafting the resolution, that Mylar should be signed, because I have to record it on file it on the,
Right.
in the town clerk's office.
Okay.
And I think, the only other thing, Manny, could you stop sharing and?
Actually, I've got a question on
Yeah.
this while he's got this
Okay,
running up. So when we approved Trader Joe's, the apartment was not in the mix. So explain to me how these tractor trailer or the tractor trailer is getting into the loading dock.
So we looked at that when in fact we looked at that well before when we were thinking about Trader Joe's and how that was going to fit. As you remember, Trader Joe's used to be down here, then they wanted us to flip it over. So what we did was we ran some turning templates to ensure that the way that the truck turns in and out of here, as you can see here, hopefully you can see that. Hold on. I think that was a question by your engineer also. So here's the turning template. The truck is it's basically, I used the largest truck they would have come in here, which is a 65-foot tractor trailer. You can see you would have to pull up to here and then kind of go this way into the loading dock. And then how it leaves is it goes in a similar fashion, kind of comes out of the loading dock, kind of turns through here, and then it has to meander its way out and then straight out to our main driveway. That, it's just the way that this loading dock is here on this side, they have to come, with the cab here, kind of turn and then go right off and go into the loading dock. That should only take less than half a minute.
was mentioned it would be.
Well, I hope more than half a minute. That tractor trailer is backing in. My goodness.
Again, I'm saying this is the worst case scenario. I doubt they have a 65-foot international trailer coming in here. It's probably like a 50-footer. So I always use the worst case scenario because you never know, right? And
So the question I have for, I guess it would be Mr. Gunia, is how often do these trucks come in to unload at Trader Joe's? Do we have any idea what the schedule is like? What time, how many come in a week? You now have people living next door. And the last thing I would want to be awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning with beep, beep, beep. So-
Yeah, they did give me the schedule. I can answer that. So the first truck comes in at approximately 8 o'clock AM. Then they have two more deliveries that occur after 8 o'clock PM, staggered. I think the last one would be, sometime before 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Wait, you used the word PM.
Yes.
So-
Between 8 and.
Yeah, three trucks, 1 AM, one delivery in the morning, approximately 8 AM.
One
Two
at 8.
deliveries.
1 at 8 AM,
Yes.
2 between
Between
8:30 and 10.
10.
PM.
Between 8 and 10, with 8 and 10:30 or
10
8, yeah, between 8 and 10:30 PM.
10:30 PM.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these are definitely the big 65-foot tractor trailers?
no, I modeled a 65-footer. I believe they will be the 50s.
And is that daily? Is that a daily schedule?
Daily.
All right,
So you've
just
got 3 shipments coming in
a day,
a day.
Okay.
for sure.
according to Trader Joe's, yeah.
Okay.
That's their
We,
business plan.
I think that should be restricted to the times that were just given. So that no trucks do show up at 3 AM backing into that spot
We can
and
certainly,
hanging out.
we can certainly notify Trader Joe's of that. I'm sure they'll be accommodating.
Just a quick count of the ceiling tiles. This is 50 feet wide. So you gotta put it in perspective as to how big of a truck.
Yeah, right. I
So
mean,
no,
again,
no earlier, no deliveries earlier than 8 AM.
Or should be
Well,
something
again,
between 6 and
Here's,
8
here's,
AM.
here's the catch to, to this. This application is on the apartments.
Yes.
It's not
right.
on Trader Joe's. I mean, you know, there's been no things. I mean, certainly we will go to Trader Joe's and talk to them, but it normally wouldn't be, regardless of whether there was a hotel here or anything, it would be incumbent upon the property owner to make sure that that there isn't disturbance of the property owner. And certainly in the situation where you have rentals, you do not want them to be disturbed. So we will convey it to Trader Joe's. We have been given their plan. We have to rely on their statement, and we will let them know that this is a PDD and the commission is, shall we say, strongly suggesting at this point that you maintain this as close as possible.
Based on what was represented.
What was represented to us, yes.
We didn't set the schedule.
Right, exactly. And based on what was represented to us, and we need, and I think Dave would agree, we need to have that assured because of, regardless of whether the hotel or whatever, you'd have residential people you do not want to disturb.
Mhm.
And, you know, having spent a night in a hotel that I didn't realize was next to a train yard, I know it can be disturbing.
All right, anything else, Attorney Thomas?
Do
You have anybody else?
I don't, I do have, Mandy, could you stop sharing for a minute? I do have the elevations if you'd like to see them in addition to the rendering.
Sure.
Before Manny goes, I have a
Oh, sure.
question.
Go ahead, Mr. DeGangi.
Manny, is the
You
storm,
need a mic.
I can
And
hear
the-
him. I hear him.
Yeah, but it's
Stormwater
gotta be
permit.
recorded.
general
Oh.
permit still in effect for the main site?
I'm sorry, which permit?
Is the DEP stormwater general permit still active for when the whole place was developed?
Yeah,
one.
if it hasn't, I didn't close it out. So if there was one, it would still be open. You have to actually, when you're complete, you have to file a closing form to close out the stormwater general permit. This parcel itself, because it's less than 5 acres of disturbance, wouldn't necessarily require one. But the overall site would have, yes.
So
Okay.
it doesn't have a time frame. Doesn't expire.
No,
So
no,
okay.
well, it does. It actually does now that I think of it. I think it's like 10 years, but you have to close it out. You can't just finish and then you have to I have to file a form with the DEP to close out the permit.
Does that trigger an inspection by them or something?
No, it just means that they don't come by and inspect it anymore.
Okay.
But they do periodically come and check on them. I don't know. I've never witnessed one myself. But that's what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
Keep in mind that except for the upper area, which is not 5 acres in total, right, Manny, that the.
Anything less than 5 acres doesn't require a registration. What requires a registration is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was saying this requires the registration for the whole site. Now, except for the upper area, the site is stabilized, except for the upper area and Kava, finishing the Kava work, because there is disturbance around Kava right now. So,
Right.
and that comprise 5 acres. All right, if there's, Dominic, did you have anything else?
Yeah, just wanna, so are the red brick sidewalks gonna meet handicap standards?
Yeah, so yeah, they can't have any rise in them more than a 1/4 inch or something like that. They have to be flat. And the edges can't be more than a 1/4 inch real.
So the brick walk that's between the pillars, you have one crossing the road in that. in that
Yeah.
gray paver area.
That one doesn't necessarily have to be because that's not a crosswalk. But since we're doing them all at the same time, we would do them all to the same standard.
Okay, the one thing so when you look at the grading, because you're going through and making the change to get from the lower level to the upper level,
Yes.
you're showing a 4-foot rise in 50 feet. That's
Right.
like an 8% grade.
8%. Yes.
So you're gonna have to level out to get the crosswalk in.
No, not necessarily because you only for ADA compliance. Hold on. Let me just look at what the cross grade is over there anyway. Hold on.
You have to go back to school chair.
No, I mean, unless you want me to. But I think my
You don't have to resolve it. I'm just telling you.
yeah, no. So like if you were at a street that's steep, if you were on a street that was 8%, 10%, right? And there's a sidewalk that's alongside of it, that's still ADA compliant, even though it's more than the grade that you would have, say, in a handicap ramp inside of a building, right? So
I'm not talking about crossing over. You'll make that. I'm talking about longitudinally. The grade is changing so dramatically in there that the 4-foot walk may not meet the requirement. It might be.
No, they have. So as long as I have less than 2% of cross pitch, it's compliant. Similar to like if I'm going up the sidewalk on Parrot Drive, you're probably going up around 8 to 10%. And as long as the sidewalk is flat, cross pitch wise, that's ADA compliant.
Right.
Yep.
I agree. So
Yep.
it needs 2% on the cross pitch.
Right. It needs to be 2% on the cross pitch. Yes.
Mr. Silva, do you have that artist elevation?
I think Dominic has it up right now.
No, I was going back to the floor plan. What did you want, the rendering or these are the elevations?
No, the rendering.
The rendering.
Just had a quick question. Can you zoom in on the pillar to the left of the exit?
Sorry about that. Let me go back to.
Okay.
Uh-oh. No, not black screen, but I think did I disconnect?
You have a little square.
No, I'm trying to see if it disconnected from the internet. No, it's connected. Yes.
40 minutes. Where the bubble burst.
Actually, to go to 7 o'clock. Who knows? Let me see the rendering. Let me. Have a disconnection, and I am. Can you upload it?
There it is. You got that.
There it is.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
It is right. Okay.
So, zoom in. And just raise it a bit.
Yeah.
Please.
The mouse isn't working, so I'm doing it by hand.
Yeah.
Give me some cheese.
All right. So, Mr. Silva, on SP1, that pillar to the left, is that you're not continuing the brick walk through the pillar to the left of the pillar, correct?
There's a sidewalk on my plan behind that pillar.
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on. So
Okay.
you have that wall between the two lanes, the parking spaces for Trader Joe's, and then on the other side of the wall is the parking spaces for the apartments. So where
Yes.
that wall comes down and meets the grassy area and the pillar, the wall goes, the fencing rather goes all the way to the pillar, correct?
No. The rendering
Okay.
shows that, but there's a sidewalk there behind the pillar in line with that brick.
That's what I wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
people were not walking into the traffic lane to go around the pillar.
No.
Perfect.
Renderings are pretty pictures.
Okay.
You send stuff down to them, they don't necessarily.
Right,
worry
and
about it.
the other part was continuing, they cross, take a right, and they go
And
up
then
to
there's
the
some,
sidewalk, and there's
there's a
site-
set of stairs right there.
no.
Okay, okay, sorry.
You come from the apartment house parking lot, you go past the wall, you go past the pillar, you cross that right lane, the parking spaces are to the right of Trader Joe's. So you want to get to the front sidewalk of Trader Joe's, you take a right, you go across the red brick walk again, and there's a little white area. That's another sidewalk, right? To go to the
Correct.
front.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
because
Yep.
on the original picture, it was a grassy area with a tree stuck in the middle. I didn't think that was very pedestrian friendly. Okay,
The rendering doesn't match the site plan side.
yes,
Yeah, the renderings
just
don't.
want to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, if a person was, I mean, it does show you one thing, if a person was leaving the apartments and they wanted to go to Trader Joe's, that's the way they go. If they wanted to go down and grab a coffee at Panera and something, they would use the crosswalk right from the parking lot. And speaking of crosswalks, and I'm not telling my client what to do, nor am I telling this commission what to do, but if you're in Derby and you're in front of my office,
Your sidewalks are done.
one day, my sidewalk's done, but that's not what I'm talking. Today, again, they were back again up at the corner of Elizabeth and Main Street. They have a gadget. And they have a big trailer. And the sidewalks, the crosswalks in front of my office that go to the Derby Shelton Bridge
Mhm.
and that go to the Roosevelt Drive corner are, if you look at them, you'll think they're brick. They're not. And these guys are out there with a machine. They lay I don't think that, I think they lay a material
Stamped.
down. Huh?
Stamped.
And they
Yeah,
stamp.
it's
And it's
stamped, yeah.
raised dots.
That look like brick. I've never seen it before. We were watching them one day. I didn't know whether or not they were contemplating doing the same thing here because apparently it's a lot better and more durable than
Right.
putting in a brick sidewalk. But I was
Because
gonna
of
mention it
frosting,
today
yeah.
because they just did it within the last week or so.
Mhm.
And now they're doing it up by, or they were doing it today up by Ellery Street. It was a very interesting process and honestly looks
Okay,
relatively
Come,
nice.
come to my
All
house,
right.
front sidewalk, is that way.
okay, so Mr. Silva, are you all set?
Yeah, I was just
and-
answering the question. I think you picked it up on the rendering that,
Yep.
those two gray areas have to link together with a sidewalk behind the pillar, and that's what's on the site plans.
These are the elevations of the building. We don't have, normally I would be turning it over to Pat Rose.
Right,
Pat is not available, and you see basically the parking under and the 4 stories above with the fourth story incorporated into the roof to reduce the mass of the building. See here, that's 2 views, and this is the front elevation and the left side elevation.
Any kind of architectural screening proposed for?
cool.
No, the garage.
So the garage has if you have to think, really it has the amenity space in front of the amenity building, and then there's going to be a privacy fence around the pool. So it's kind of screened. The parking is screened by the actual amenity space. It's not kind of represented in this elevation though.
In the parking garage itself.
No, I meant in the parking garage, not the amenities.
No, don't you drive in
On
that way?
sheet A201, it shows the elevation and the arches along the ground level, so is there anything there?
So like the part that faces Bridgeport Avenue, you won't see the arches because the amenity space is in front of the arches, and so is the screen fencing for the pool.
So it's only open in the back,
Right.
Correct.
inside.
Commissioner Perkins, do you feel that there's some needed?
Whatever.
You have to see that at the bottom of this sheet right here, where the amenity building is. go up, Dominic, a little bit. Wherever, I think you got to zoom out a little bit. It'll help me. Nope, next page, the one prior to this one.
Next page.
You want rear elevation or you want
I
right
want the
side?
front elevation.
One is A201. You gotta go.
Yep, and then just scroll down a little bit. So if you look at that, see that amenity at the bottom, keep going, keep going, keep going. Right to the bottom of the sheet. So if you look
Yeah.
at this amenity space building, right? So off to the right, I mean, basically you have to pull that up, and then next to it, it'll be in the same level, and actually the roof will be covering up a little bit of the first floor of the apartments. So that front elevation is going to be in front of these basically parked arches, and then you'll have a fence from the set off to the right of this amenity space that's going to be a privacy fence around the pool. So that'll basically screen all the archways on the front of the building.
Mhm.
So you're not going to see the arches, you're going to see the front of this amenity building and a fence.
Okay, yeah, I think the question was raised because there's other,
So it's not a secure
Places.
parking lot.
No, I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not a gate access.
no,
It's not a secure parking lot.
yeah, don't walk through the arches. Okay,
All right, that's,
any
Um,
questions for Attorney Thomas or Mr. Silva from the commission? Okay, so we'll, Mr. DeAngie or anything else for you? Okay, all right, so we'll.
Chairwoman, I have a quick question.
Okay,
It might be a question for the commission or for you. I don't see any fire marshal letter or a review. I wasn't sure if we needed to do that, considering this is a newer building in the final stage.
we submitted the plans. I will tell you that the fire marshal has issued other letters for other buildings in this location, including the fire marshal issued a letter when the hotel was in the safe footprint, that there were no issues. The one thing that I can recall from the fire marshal's prior letters, when it was submitted to him, was that there be sufficient ability to circumvent the building, to go around the building, which there is here.
Mhm.
Correct, Manny?
Yeah, the fire truck can go around the building and he has full access. And then there's a full sprinklered building, and it'll meet all the fire codes in that way. So,
Just to clarify, when it was a larger building, fire marshal looked at it and felt that it met all the standards he needed. So now that we have a smaller building,
Should still
it
meet the
should
standard.
still
It should still meet the standards.
standards, okay,
The key is, like with the engineer, can a fire truck get
Right.
around
The turn ratios, right.
the turn ratios, keeping in mind that you're dealing with a sprinklered building, so there's not need to be access
right,
to all four sides.
Okay.
There is in this case.
But the garage is not sprinkled.
I'm not sure. I'm not the architect.
It could.
That would be
Usually
the,
it's,
huh?
usually it's not, because that one's pretty open.
Mhm.
And the code says if you have 50% of the surface out, you don't need to sprinkle.
My only,
Because they can get at it.
yeah.
You have
That's your
EV
point.
chargers.
My only experience was the Hotel Sierra,
Mhm.
which is now the Hyatt,
Mhm.
because the developers at that point, the builders of the Hotel Sierra, wanted to get a modification because they had a sprinkler, their underground garage. They have the underground garage.
Right.
And they had to sprinkler it, and they tried to get a modification, and that was denied by the state.
You know, you have to have 50% of the outside. The walls have to be 50% open.
Oh.
And then you don't have to have a sprinkler.
All right, just be on the safe side, Ms.
Which you
Castro,
have,
could you ask?
Yeah.
Or please issue
Easy.
something updated, thank you. All right, so if there aren't any other comments, questions, or concerns for the applicant, I'll go to the public portion. I don't see anyone signed up. I don't see any elected officials here present. If there are any elected officials that are participating remotely that would like to comment, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9.
No.
And there is no one, there are not anyone signed up. I'll ask anybody who is present here in the auditorium. It's your chance, okay? And if there's anyone from the public who participating remotely, who would like to comment on this application, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature, or dial *9.
No.
And there is no one. Okay, so no comments needed, no response needed from the applicant. Is there a motion on this particular application to continue or close public hearing?
Commissioner Cristiano makes the motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second
All
it.
right, there's a motion to close the public hearing for application 2313 from Commissioner Cristiano and seconded by Commissioner Kelly. On the motion to close, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner McGee,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins, Commissioner Kelly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. Attorney Tedosco, did you want to make any comments or anything? No, okay.
Thank
right,
you. Have a good
uh,
evening.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. All right, so is the commission ready to discuss the application and the settlement? I would, it's there's a comment at the beginning that we would go the regular route, and that's for having a resolution prepared by staff. Attorney Thomas, you brought that up. We're talking about at the next meeting. That's, I think, a little,
Do we need a resolution?
yes,
prepared for staff?
yes,
It can be simple.
Yeah.
We really need a resolution.
yeah, this is the 28th, and the next meeting would be the 11th. That's 2 weeks, I think. 18th is more realistic, Attorney Thomas.
Our agenda is pretty full.
Oh, that's the first meeting of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
We have a lot. going on. Let's get some timelines to report. We have to make something happen.
okay,
As, I think, things on the site can proceed along, you know, the site work that's being done is not being done for the apartments. The site work that's being done, I want you all to know, it's done for Joe's.
hmm
Working on that. So the 18th will be fine.
okay,
So we're gonna leave favorable.
that's what I wanted to discuss. Yes, well, do we really need to discuss this, Attorney Tito? So I can't hear,
You really don't. You put it on the record before.
yeah, last
Beat it
meeting.
to death.
So we're good.
But we're gonna make it, obviously, a recommendation for a favorable resolution. Correct.
Right.
Yep. All right, thank you, Attorney Thomas. I said thank you. Attorney
Thank you.
Thomas. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is other business. First item is application 2505, Dominic Thomas for David Chukta at 0 Constitution Boulevard and 0 Wabasa Street, assesses the map 91, lot 85, map 78, lot 123, and map 93, lot 1, for a zone change from R1 and R2 to R3. Application was accepted for review on April 9th of this year. The public hearing opened on April 23rd, and it was continued to and closed on May 21st. The commission ready to discuss this application?
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to start the ball rolling?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
All right, so the concept here is a DRD, which I think is a more modern approach to development and a more environmentally responsible way to go. I think the way I see it, it's a win-win-win-win in this situation. It's environmentally favorable. I think the neighbors win by not having any kind of access through their neighborhood, by having just one exit onto the main highway, and that there's a great deal of the Ivy Brook is preserved in the way that the Conservation Commission has recommended to us. the city wins by not having to do road maintenance. By having, again, having that one entrance on the main road. And having open space that's adjacent to the already established open space.
Mhm.
The plus for the developer is that there's less road that he has to build, less site work. And as an incentive to do this kind of development, yes, they do get to do more units than the traditional development would allow.
Okay, this one is the zone change from R1 and R2 to R3. Yeah,
We were talking about them all together,
uh,
or not.
no, we
have-
were
we have
doing
to
it
vote
separately. Yeah,
separately.
that was what we were cautioned by
Sorry.
Corporation Council, that
Okay.
while we could have the public hearing. And, as long as we identified that, which I did both times, at the time that it came for a vote, we have to vote on each one separately. So this is, we're gonna hold on to those comments. But is there anybody in particular that has any comments about the text change?
So
Did you see the zone change? I'm sorry. Nobody has any comments, questions, or concerns about it?
The
Nope.
zone- Mr. Christian, the zone changes presented by the applicant is appropriate for this DRD.
Mm-hmm.
It's in line with the other changes that were there. It's in line with the proposed project that is being presented.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And also, from what I understand, is that with the DRD, the zone change can be for just this one project,
Well,
No,
no,
zone change is
no.
citywide,
citywide.
right?
No, text
No,
change
the
is
text
Tax
citywide.
changes,
Zone change is for this.
For the
just
particular
particular, so I was right.
Mhm.
Yes. A text change would be
Citywide. Okay. All right, I don't see a reason why this particular zone change would not be appropriate. It was a matter of circumstance that while we had R1 on the St. Margaret Mary side of the existing Constitution Boulevard, a parcel, piece of that went over to the other side. There are, areas up and down Long Hill Avenue, Constitution Boulevard and Corn Gardens that are the proposed zone. And, see any reason why this should not go in line with it. It's, for it to be, stay as R1, I don't think is at all appropriate. Anybody else? All right, if there's no other, discussion on this, is there a motion on this particular application 2505?
I'll make the motion to accept it.
No, it's a motion to approve. Okay. There's a motion to approve application 2505 from Commissioner Kelly. Is there a second?
Yeah.
We're doing three separately. Yeah, this is just 2505. Which is the zone
No,
change.
Voting on them one by one.
Thought you were in the text.
No,
we're
this
on
is
the
a zone change. I might have misspoke at the beginning. Text amendment is the next one.
Yeah, right.
That was the other one. We've been noticing it. He feels it's other ones. No. Legal notice back. A minute.
This is the agenda.
Yeah,
Let's. I'll let you. Yeah, so,
thank you. I know. I think it's like a mystery. Oh, I had nothing to do with this. This was done in Fountain Square. So, yeah, original one.
Thing is, it only can be done in an R3.
Yeah.
So you have to change the zone.
This is citywide, this is a parcel.
This requires it to be,
You have to do this and this and this.
yes.
No. But this is two separate things. One component.
When you look at the map, there's R1 and R2 and R3 on the rights in this area. So you gotta get it all in R3.
So they want to make it an R3, which then.
Then that works.
So how's the doggy and the cat?
They're terrible.
Confusion with that.
We good? Yeah, it's.
We're okay.
Just gotta do it.
Okay,
You see all those.
so that's part of the motion.
Online.
Yep.
Each other.
May, that would be,
They're not.
June sixth, okay, effective June sixth, 2025. All right, so we were in the middle. That's where we had a motion from Commissioner Kelly. And who had made the second? Was there? I don't believe anybody spoke
Nobody
up.
made a second.
Right, okay, so who would like to second?
Mr. Cristiano, second.
All right, so on the motion to approve application 2505 made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Cristiano. Do a roll call vote. Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner McGee?
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. And with the effective date of June 6th. All right, next is application 2506. Dominic Thomas for David Chukta for text amendment to section 35, table 1, Shelton Planning and Zoning Regulations. This application was accepted for review on April 9th as well. The public hearing again opened April 23rd. It was continued to and closed on May 21st. How does the commission want to proceed on this particular application? Any discussion?
I would make a motion to approve.
Okay. Is everybody clear if this is having to do with the setbacks
Yeah.
in table
Yeah.
1? Okay, so Commissioner Motto has made a motion to approve application 2506. Is there a second?
Mr. Cristiano, second.
Okay, so on the motion to approve application 2506 made by Commissioner Motto, seconded by Commissioner Cristiano, I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins? Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner McGee?
Aye.
Commissioner Cristiano?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. And can hear you.
Effective date, June.
Okay, effective date of June 6th. Okay. Next is application 2507, Dominic Thomas for David Chukta at 0 Constitution Boulevard and 0 Bassett Street, Assessors Map 92, Lot 65 and 85, Map 78, Lot 123, and Map 93, Lot 1 for an application for a special exception to allow 20 cluster single-family homes under Schedule A, Use Line 1D, Design Residential District. The application was accepted for review on April 9th, 2025. The public hearing opened on April 23rd and was continued to and close on May 21st. Is the commission ready to discuss this particular application?
Yes.
Commissioner Cristiano,
Yes.
go ahead.
Motion? Oh, you asked.
No,
Yes.
I asked-
Motion.
Did you want to discuss? Have any discussion?
Yes.
Okay, then discuss.
So not to repeat all the comments that Commissioner Motto made earlier, but just to clarify a few things. I do believe that this is in the best interest, obviously, of the applicant. That's why we're approving this part, but I believe it's the best interest of the residents who came out and spoke of the project. This this application presents no impact to that neighborhood. The applicant has a right to build on this property. There is significant benefit to the city, to the existing Ivy Brook passageway. And the proposal, if this DRD was not done, was I believe 16 units. This proposal is for 20 units on a smaller piece of property. So it's a very similar number. The exit onto Constitution Boulevard is a significant factor that's positively affects the area and the neighborhood. I believe Constitution is a major thoroughway for that area, a road that it appears to be designed to handle heavy traffic. Again, not going through the surrounding neighborhoods. And for those reasons, I think it's this project is appropriate and recommending approval.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments? All right, I have to,
I have a question. Sorry, Chairwoman.
go ahead,
so-
Commissioner.
So a couple times during the public hearing, we had some folks bring up the fact that there was no traffic study, and I was just wondering why we haven't or chose not to do that.
Can't hear you, Alexander.
Traffic study.
Okay, Ms. Castro has indicated that traffic studies are required in the PDD. This is not. This is a DRD.
Can we ask for one?
Public hearing was closed.
Okay, I don't think that was very clear. I watched back some of the meetings and folks asked multiple times, and I don't think they got a really good answer. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Well, you do understand the access is only up to and from Constitution Boulevard, which is, what level of road is that called? Gandy?
It's either a minor arterial or a pretty major collector. It's a big road.
Mhm. Which was designed years ago
Yeah.
to,
Except the traffic.
yeah, to accommodate traffic.
35-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Mm-hmm,
I'm not sure.
right.
Plus it'd be a very minor change from what could be developed there by right.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I understand. I think and obviously this is not a PDD, but I know in the past we've done traffic studies for similar projects like this for PDDs. I understand it's not a PDD, but I just didn't think it was very clear watching back the meetings. That's why I thought it'd be good to just talk about it for a second.
I don't feel that,
can you get the mic?
yeah. I don't feel that we have done similar projects with a traffic study as this. This is, small, a minor area. It's not minor to the people who spoke, but it's 20 houses. It's not apartment houses or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, 390 Shelton Ave, we did a traffic study and that was 16 homes.
No,
We did not,
no.
the applicant submitted.
For the
one.
applicant, yes.
Right.
We didn't ask.
We didn't ask.
Mhm.
It's also a state road and it's a PDD.
Exactly, and they changed it to 56 townhouses.
Yeah.
Isn't it 50 units?
That's a separate application.
Second.
Yes. No, 56. Yeah. All right, Commissioner McGee, does that help?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I have one more comment if you just want to get my comment out of the way. I think overall I appreciate the intent of the project with trying to preserve open space and preserve Ivy Brook. I would have liked to see the project have a little bit more vegetation or some trees along Dogwood Avenue and possibly pull it back just a little bit, maybe lose a couple units there, just out of respect for the neighborhood.
Dogwood Avenue is a paper road, the city road.
I think, Commissioner Cristiano, I think, it's a good point. And looking at one of the renderings that the applicant submitted last time, I think one of the difficult things, and it's education. I think part of our position here on the commission is to educate the public when they come in and ask questions. Although it's a paper road, it appears from the aerial maps that the neighbors have encroached onto the paper road. And when neighbors encroach on a paper road, they assume that they have rights to that property. And the reality of it is that that paper road is not their property. They may use it, they may utilize it, they may drive on it, they may have a shed on it, they may do whatever on it, but the reality of it is it's not their property. So there already is a 50-foot buffer that separates their property and the applicant's property. And then we approve a 20-foot boundary after that. So there's a 70-foot boundary that's in place here that was taken into consideration when I was making my decision.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I think we're waiting for a motion to either approve or deny application 2507.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve application 2507 from Commissioner Motto. Is there a second?
A second.
Commissioner Kelly has seconded. So on the motion to approve made by Commissioner Motto, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Cristiano,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto, Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner McGee,
No,
you're a nay. Okay.
I'm a nay.
All right, and chair votes aye. Motion has passed by a vote of 5-1. Effective June 6th. Okay, and seeing that there is no other item on the agenda, chair declares this evening's meeting is adjourned as of 7:52. Thank you, everyone.